Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Silos No More. I'm Ryan Duguid. I'm the SVP of Technology Strategy at Nintex, and I'm here today to talk to you about how you can automate and optimize processes that span multiple organizations and systems. Now, there's a lot to get through, so I want you to stick with me. We're going to be moving fast, because the purpose today is to actually show you what can be done, not just talk to you about what can be done. With that, just to give you a bit of a primer for those of you who don't know Nintex, and hopefully a lot of you do, the company was founded over 10 years ago in Melbourne, Australia. We have over 8,000 customers in 90 countries. We go to market through a partner ecosystem of over 1,700 partners, and our foray into the Salesforce ecosystem started a little over 2 years ago with the acquisition of a company called Drawloop, and you'll be seeing some of that technology along the way as well. We partner with industry titans like Salesforce, like Microsoft, like Box, Adobe, and DocuSign, and you're going to see all of this technology in action today. But fundamentally, what I want to talk to you about is how to deal with processes that span multiple organizations, multiple systems, and multiple groups of people, both within your organization and outside of your organization. Now, this stuff can be tricky, but there are many solutions you can start to address when you bring all of these components together within your organization and you stop treating information in its own unique silos. So things like how you can manage opportunities, contracts, discount approvals, and ultimate onboarding of customers after you've closed and won opportunities are all things you can do using the technology you'll see today. The real question, though, is why is all of this difficult? Now, every platform has some flavor of workflow, some forms technology, but why is it difficult to build solutions that span multiple organizations? Now, the first thing is, most processes in an organization, and take a typical sales process, involve many different stakeholders. There's obviously salespeople involved, there's marketing teams involved, folks like myself on the product side. Legal tends to be heavily involved in the contract negotiation phase, and so ensuring all these people do the right things at the right time is critical to accelerate your process of going from quote to cash. Over and above that, these processes span multiple systems. Now, there's a lot of data sitting within your Salesforce environment, but it's not storing every bit of information. You've got to think about where your files are stored, your content management strategy. Where are you storing your ERP, your financial information? How are you dealing with electronic signatures? How are you notifying people via text, via email, and the likes? You have all these systems at play, and if you can harness their power, you can deliver a much richer solution. And the last piece of the puzzle is that when you're trying to accelerate the sales process, you tend to have a number of options on your hand. Oftentimes, people are getting heavy into coding, and there's a big problem with coding solutions up. It takes a long time, expensive resources, and it's hard to maintain. And a lot of people forget about that ongoing maintenance part of it. Hopefully today you'll see how you can make that easy. On the other end of the spectrum, there's off-the-shelf technology. Grab a packaged application, but 9 times out of 10, it's not customized enough to meet your specific needs. And with workflow and content automation, in Nintex, we believe we can help span that spectrum and give you a solution that is tailored to your organizational requirements without requiring code, all built by the average business user. So, what does it look like to fully accelerate this process? Well, in the past, everything in sales was dealt with by Excel spreadsheets, a lot of macros. Now you start to get into the world of technologies like Aptus and Steelbrick in the CPQ space. But if you really want to take things all the way from the very beginning, when you first reach out and engage with a customer, right through to when you provision a service and potentially ultimately offboard them, you need to be able to have an end-to-end automation solution, and that's what you're about to see. So without any further ado, let me talk to you a little bit about the players you're going to see in the demonstration today. Now, I'm just going to be one person, and I'd love to put 5 different hats on and speak in squeaky voices, but I probably won't do that for you today. But let's just build out the environment that we're going to see so you can understand what's going on. So we're going to start with me, the workflow professional, right? Now this is my product, so it's a little bit easier for me than it might be for you just getting started. But you'll see me build a solution that comprises forms, process automation, document generation, electronic signature, and a lot of notification. We're going to see the life of a salesperson. Salesperson's Adam, and Adam's trying to close a deal. He's got a large opportunity with a multinational company looking for facilities management for their offices around the globe. Now, the biggest thing in this demo you'll see that can slow that deal down is going to be our legal teams. Inside counsel and external counsel. These are the guys that like to send big documents back and forward in email, redlining things, everything grinds to a standstill. We're going to accelerate that part of the journey. And then we have the buyer. And the buyer just wants the service. They want the service at a fair price. They want to be able to provision that service as quickly as possible. So we're going to stitch all that together using Salesforce, Office 365, Box for file sharing, Adobe for electronic signing, Twilio for SMS-based notification, and Slack to update all our teams internally. So without any further ado, enough of the talk, and we're going to go straight in and see this demonstration in action. All right, so let's jump into the Nintex environment. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this. We're sitting in Salesforce. We've grabbed the Nintex app, launched this Sunday from the App Exchange. We've installed it into our environment. It's a managed package. And you can see that we've got a set of workflows in the environment and a set of operational history telling me everything that's going on. Which workflows have been erroring out, which ones are held up, how many are running concurrently, how many have run in total. So I can drill down into the history of any of these workflows simply by popping over here and clicking on Workflow Instance, and I'll start to see all the different processes going on in my organization. As a workflow designer, that helps me understand how my technology is being used. As an administrator, this is where I can come to see if there are any problems, if anybody's slacking on their approvals and the likes, and I can start to push things forward. But what I want to do is start out by showing you the workflow design experience, and we're going to create a form to capture data from an opportunity to generate some contracts and get the process underway. So without any further ado, we'll pop over here. I'm going to click on Create Workflow, and I'll start to build out a form so you can see how this all comes together in the Salesforce environment. Really easy exercise. I click on the Start event here. I choose my connector. In this case, it's going to be Salesforce. And the event I'm interested in is a Nintex form for Salesforce. Now, the beauty of this environment, and you'll see this play out a little bit later on, is I have connections to multiple Salesforce orgs. So this isn't just restricted to a single org. So if you're one of those people that has, I've heard, up to 120 orgs, this is really going to help you out, right? So you can see here I've got two orgs, one for my US office, one for my European office. I'm going to connect to my US org right now, and I'm going to choose where I want to embed this form. In this case, it's a form that's attached to an opportunity. I do that, and I'm ready to start designing my form. Click on the Design Form button, the Form Designer comes up. Now this is where it gets to be drag and drop. You'll have heard everyone in the last few days talk about clicks, not code. I'm going to show you how you do this with clicks, not code. So we're going to want a heading for this form. I'm going to want to capture some information about the type of contract that needs to be created today. We're going to grab some information about additional data we want to embed in that contract, whether or not we have a European opportunity attached to this. We'll grab some information about the due date for this particular opportunity. So I'll just go over here and I will grab my date time, drop that in, and we'll grab some comments to go along with it so we can help the legal team understand what it is we're trying to achieve. So we'll pop that on as well. Now it's time to configure these form elements. So I click on one of them, I get this panel on the right-hand side, makes it easy for me to start to put in the options. So the first thing I'm going to do is give this a name. So we'll just pop over here and we'll call this contract type. We'll give the form a nice heading, so we'll pop back up here, and we'll just we'll call that the Request Agreement Preparation and Signing Form. Now I'm going to change the type of this. I don't want radio buttons, I want a drop-down list, and we're going to put some values in this drop-down list to the type of contract I want. So I'm after a service level agreement, I'm after a warehouse management agreement, and I'm after an office management agreement. So now we have those values in the drop-down list, and we'll put one of those nice please select options in there. Next up, what I'm interested in is capturing information about the types of additional content we require. In this case, I'm after an NDA being attached to this particular contract. And we'll just make that a nice toggle instead of a checkbox. And then over here, I'm interested in understanding whether or not the European office needs to be involved. So I'll just put a little flag on that. We'll grab the date time. So it's going to be due date. And we'll grab the comments as the last piece of the puzzle. And with that, we've got our form built and we're ready to go. So I click on Done, and now it's time to start building the process that's driven by that form. Now what I'm going to do is I show you how to build this solution as we're actually going to run it hand in hand at the same time. So to take a look at how that form manifests itself, I'm going to pop over here to Salesforce. I'm going to go to one of my opportunities that I've loaded up earlier. Opportunity is going to come up, and you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen we have a Lightning component, and it's rendering up those forms. Now it's talked to the workflow platform. It's discovered all the different forms that are bound to opportunities, and in this case, we want the process taking us from contract to close. So I click on that, and immediately you see that form that I've just built rendered up in Salesforce. Now, if you make changes to this form, changes come through in here in real time, no requirements to redeploy anything. So the contract I'm after is an office management agreement. I'd like an NDA attached. I'd like the European team involved in it. The due date, we're going to say we need this done by the end of the week. And comments, please close this quickly so I can make quota. And we'll submit that, and with that, the workflow is underway. So we've taken all that data and we've started to push it from the form into the process engine. So the next part is to make this process actually do something. So what I'm going to do is hop over now and show you how to get the ball rolling with that. So the first thing we're going to do is set up the creation of the contracts, the documents. So we're going to take templates out of our Box repository, merge that data from the form and from Salesforce to create the contract for distribution. Super easy to do this. The first thing I'm going to do is branch by value. This is where I take a look at that form field where I chose the contract types and decide what type of document to create. So I go to branch by value here. We're going to evaluate the contract type, and we're going to put in our values. In this case, we had the service level agreement. We had the warehouse management agreement. We'll add another branch in here, and it gives us the office management agreement. So now, based on the value you choose in that form, we're picking a direction down through the process. Now that we've got that, we'll set the default branch to office management agreement. We'll set about creating these contracts. So if I scroll down a little bit, you'll see we have our document generation action here. This is powered by the draw loop technology many of you know and love. And we're going to create a contract. Very, very simple process. I choose the environment that I want to pull my templates from, in this case, Box. I choose the output format. I'm going to create Word documents, the original format, and I pick my templates. What's happening right now is we're looking up that environment in Box. You'll see I've got my commercial management contracts. If I drill down into that, you'll see I have a template folder. From there, I'll choose my templates. And then I can choose my office management agreement. That's the first template that I want. And I'm going to add a second template, but this is going to be conditionally added. So in this case, we drill down again, we find that contracts folder. So we just give that a moment. So we'll choose our commercial management contracts. Go into our template gallery, and in this case, we'll choose the NDA template. So we'll pop that in place. And then we're going to put a condition on this. So what I want to say is when a particular value, in this case the NDA required value, is equal to yes, then go ahead and include this template. And the last thing we do is configure the output location. So in this case, we want the file name. We're just going to go into our variables that have come through from that form. We're going to make this the account name, the opportunity name, and we're going to put on the date time as well so we can track all of that. And so here we have the current date and time. We'll insert that. Now we've got the output information configured and we're ready to go. Now to work out how to put that data into those templates, we have the document tagger here. And the document tagger gives me access to all the different values within the process and from the form and from Salesforce to drag and drop into my Word document to assemble that contract. And with that, let's take a look at the contract as it gets underway. So if I pop over now to my Box environment, we'll just refresh. We took that data from the form, we merged it with the template, and in this case, we've created a folder for this organization, Service Gardening, and we've created an agreement for them. If I click on this now, you'll see we've taken the template out of Box and we've merged that data. And so in this case, you'll see I have an agreement for management of commercial real estate, and I've started to embed all the information from the process into that contract. You'll see I've got Sally's details in here and the address here, Market Street in San Francisco, where they're headquartered. So we're starting to build all that up. We've also got the information about the date and time that this contract was prepared. With that, we will pop on to the next phase. So having sent out those documents, we have to negotiate now between our legal teams. So let's hop over to where we start to work with our legal teams. Now this is something in Nintex we call the state machine. State machine is the notion of a process that's not serial, it's not parallel, it may bounce around for a period of time. So if you think about legal contract negotiation, you have a process where you've got lawyers redlining, sending contracts back and forward. So what we're going to do is set that up now so we can start to get those lawyers interacting with one another, managed and orchestrated by the workflow engine. In this case, we have what we call express approval. If I pop into express approval right now, you'll see what I'm doing is I'm providing a task name, I'm providing some information for the person who has to perform this task, setting up their email information, and then sending them a message about what's required of them. Most importantly, I'm actually attaching that contract that I just prepared and put in Box to this email, because lawyers prefer to work in email, I've been told, as opposed to working in modern content management systems. So I'm going to send that to them so they can start to bounce it back and forward. Now the first thing we have to do is send it to our internal counsel. Now if they're happy with the contract, and we would hope that they are, they have to decide what happens next. In this case, you'll see I have two branches. One, I can approve this contract. Two, I can ask for more information. Now this is where the state machine kicks into gear, because I get to configure what happens next. And in this case, I'm going to choose my change state action. So if we require more information, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this all the way back to the original person who created the request. And I'm going to say, hey, you've got to regenerate those documents. You've got to make some changes in Salesforce, and now we've got to have another go at it. More importantly, if it's been improved, I want to send it to external counsel. So I pop in here and I choose the next state, and I send it to external counsel for review. Now over here we see the external counsel gets that same approval task. They get those same contracts attached. They can choose to redline or approve this contract. Either way, we notify our legal team by Slack, and then we decide what happens. So if we decide to redline it, then I'll send it back to internal counsel in this case. And if we decide we're comfortable with it, then we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next phase of the workflow. And so with that, we choose the next value is to exit the state machine, carry on with the workflow. That next part is signing. So having set up all that negotiation, let's see how that works in reality. Over here, I'm going to be Richard Rowe. Richard Rowe is internal counsel for Cephalo Realty. And Richard has an email in his inbox. You can see over here it says, Office Management Agreement has been prepared for service gardening, right? I've got a copy of this document attached to my email, so I've got quick access to it. I can make any changes I want before sending it on. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and reply, and I'll say, this is approved for release. So with that one word and the reply to that email, the process now moves forward to the next phase, in this case to external counsel. So we'll pop over now and we'll take a look at external counsel. So what's going to happen is the process is continuing. It's going to prepare that next email with that next set of outcomes. It's going to attach that document to it, and it's going to get sent to Terry. Now Terry is external counsel, and he's going to get this notification in his inbox. You see it coming up there in real time, saying there's a review required. Terry White, please review the attached agreement for service gardening. If you're happy, simply reply with approved. Otherwise, reply with redline and attach your edits. Same story again, just going to make it really simple and say approved. I like this document. We'll click on send. What's going to happen now is that document is going to get prepared for electronic signature by the buyer, Sally DuPont. So let's take a look at that electronic signature part. So we'll pop over here now. We'll go back to our workflow design environment. We've done our work around pulling the opportunity information in. We've sorted out our legal review. With any of these sections in the workflow, it's easy to expand and collapse them so you can minimize the view surface. And now we're going to request a signature. So I'll pop over here and use my Adobe eSign action. I'm going to choose a file variable, that's that contract from the workflow. So if I pop over here, I specify the contract that was created and approved earlier. The recipient, I have the buyer's details because I've gone into Salesforce and retrieved the buyer's contact details from the opportunity. In this case, I've got their name, and I need their email address as well, so I can send them this request for signing. So it's pop down here, buyer email. And we're going to put in a message. You could have multiple signatories behind this as well, but we're going to give this agreement a name. In this case, it is the opportunity and the account that we're going to use for the name. And we're going to say, Dear Sally, so we'll grab her name from down here. Please sign the contracts so we can get things underway. Cephalo Realty. And with that, we're ready to send that out for signing. When we get the stored document, the signed document back, we need to store it somewhere. And in this case, I'm going to store it in Box. So I pop over here, and I'll just choose to store a file. And with that, we're ready to store that file in the Box environment. So let's look at the signing part of it. If we pop over to Sally's inbox now, you'll see she's been sent an email requesting signature by Adobe Sign. Pop over here and click Sign. We're going to get that contract now. Now we've embedded tags in this contract to specify the signing area. So if I click on Start, pop down here, we'll type in Sally DuPont. We'll apply that. Now I actually require two signatures because I've attached the NDA document to the master contract. So we'll sign the NDA as well. Now I'm not going to click on Sign just yet because once Sally's signed this, it's time to onboard her and wrap everything up. And so I'm going to show you how we can quickly onboard a new customer within this environment. We're going to jump over here. We're going to look at the finished product. So right down at the very end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up my workflow, notify my legal team. I'm going to celebrate my win. I'm going to update the opportunity details, assign a task to Adam. And then, because this is a European opportunity, I'm popping over here and I'm actually creating an account in an entirely separate Salesforce org. So with that, we're going to pop over here. We're going to click on Sign. And that's going to kick off that final part of the process so we can see all those things unfolding before our very eyes. Now, while that's happening, I'll just pop over here, and we're just going to go have a look at this workflow as it's actually happening. We'll go to our instance details page over here. You'll see I've got this contract to close workflow. It's giving you the entire execution history of this workflow. We're right down at the end here. We've sent out, we've had that request for signature. It takes a little minute for that to come back in from Adobe, and then we'll start to see those next phases move along. First thing you'll start to see is that we start to update Slack. So you'll see here in Slack, we're getting this real-time notification of all the things happening in the environment. So Terry White's been notified and updated of what's going on. Once that happens, we then start to go into that Salesforce environment. We start to update the state of the opportunity and assign tasks to people. And so we'll just go back and see where that's at now in terms of progressing. I told you we'd celebrate the win, so we got this nice little green light going on here in my sales room to notify everybody that we've got the successful completion. Here's that last piece saying Sally DuPont has signed the contract, right? So everything's underway there. And we're moving through this progressively. The next thing that's going to happen is, as a sales rep, Adam Wallace, I'm going to get notified that this opportunity has actually closed. So you'll see I get a nice little text message on my iPhone saying it's all closed up, coming in via Twilio. As that's progressing, we're then starting to update that Salesforce environment. So if we hop back over now, we take a look at our opportunity. If we refresh the view, what we should see is that we've started to progress the opportunity. You'll see it's moved to closed won. We've updated probability to 100%. We've actually secured this deal. If I hop back to my home screen here, Adam Wallace, you'll see that I've been assigned a task to check in with Sally DuPont at Services Gardening. That's all done its thing. And then the last piece of this puzzle was to update our European headquarters that we have a new account. So a European office is one we acquired some years ago. They have a separate Salesforce org, and in this case you'll see their accounts. And if I refresh this now, we've taken a copy of the account sitting in our US office, we've added it to European office, Service Gardening's been put over here, and with that, that's a wrap on the demonstration. So let's take a look at what we saw going on there. We'll jump back to the last few slides. So we'll pop into PowerPoint. And let's go. So enough talk, more action. What you saw was workflow, analytics, forms, our extensibility framework, and our document generation capability coming together to accelerate that time to closing the deal. More importantly, you might be thinking this took me weeks or even months to build. This actually took me 2 hours to build, and I built it at the start of this week before coming down here. It's very quick to put together. And with that, I want to say thanks very much for your time. That was Nintex Workflow for Salesforce. If you're interested, nintex.com/Salesforce. Love to come and see you over at our booth as well. And any questions, come see me up at the front here. Thanks very much.